are important updates from the Russian Federation. Here, new satellite images are revealing a shocking truth about the capabilities of the Russian army to wage mechanized assaults. The released data shows irreversible damage inflicted by Ukrainian forces, damage that is far worse than anyone had anticipated at the beginning of the war. Russia's vast armored reserves, built over decades by the Soviet Union for a potential large-scale war against NATO, are effectively gone. What once represented one of the largest stockpiles of tanks and armored vehicles in the world has now been consumed at a pace that few military planners would have considered sustainable. The scale of the damage is no longer speculative. It is visible, measurable, and increasingly undeniable. What once appeared to be an almost inexhaustible reserve has been burned through in just a few years of intense fighting in Ukraine. The Soviet system spent half a century accumulating these machines, preparing for a prolonged, high-intensity conflict against the Western alliance. These reserves were not just numbers on paper, they were a core pillar of Soviet military doctrine. Yet Ukraine has managed to dismantle this strategic reserve in record time. The speed and scale of the attrition have exposed a critical weakness. The system was never designed to absorb sustained modern losses at this level. What was built for mass mobilization has now been tested in a real conflict, and it is breaking down under pressure. As a result, Russia is no longer drawing from a deep reserve. Instead, it is scraping the bottom. Satellite imagery from before the war showed the sheer scale of this legacy. Across dozens of storage bases stretching from European Russia all the way to Siberia, thousands of tanks stood in long, organized rows. T-72s, T-80s, T-62s, and even older variants, alongside tens of thousands of infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers. Estimates placed the number of stored tanks alone between 7,000 and 10,000, part of a broader Soviet arsenal that once exceeded 50,000 armored vehicles. These depots were more than storage facilities. They were the backbone of a system designed to equip entire reserve armies in the event of a major war with the West. For decades, they symbolized Russia's ability to sustain combat on a scale that few countries could match. But that perception is now collapsing. New satellite imagery reveals a completely different reality. In less than 4 years of war, much of this legacy has been dismantled. Losses verified through open-source intelligence already exceed 4,000 tanks and more than 13,000 armored vehicles, and the true scale is likely significantly higher. Entire storage bases that once held thousands of vehicles now appear nearly empty. What remains are scattered hulks, stripped frames, and equipment that has been cannibalized for parts. Detailed analysis of key depots shows that out of the original stockpiles, only around 2,400 vehicles remain. But only a fraction of those vehicles are actually in usable condition. This depletion has had a direct and devastating impact on Russia's military operations in Ukraine. It has forced a fundamental shift in tactics, with Russian forces increasingly relying on infantry-heavy assaults instead of armored warfare. These tactics are slower, more exposed, and far more costly in terms of manpower. As a result, the pace of the war has shifted into a grinding war of attrition, where progress is measured in meters rather than kilometers. The implications go far beyond the battlefield. Russia is losing not just equipment, but its ability to regenerate combat power at scale, a turning point that may define the outcome of the war. If you found this analysis useful, make sure to subscribe for more updates and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.